Hey, gorgeous! Welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast with Holly Worton, which combines powerful strategies on how to upgrade your business mindset, along with practical business tips to grow your business. This podcast features solo shows with Holly and also interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. And now, here's your host, Holly Worton.
Hello, and welcome to the Business Mindset Podcast, episode 179. This is Holly Worton, and I'm back with another solo episode. So today is the Monday, 26th of December. This is the last episode of the year, so I'm really excited to be kind of wrapping up this year on the podcast with a solo show. Also want to say happy Boxing Day if you're in one of those countries that celebrates that, and hope you've had a really great holiday season and that you're gearing up for a great new year. I'm really, really excited about 2017. I mean, I usually get excited about each new year, but I'm especially excited about stuff that I have planned for the next year, things that have been kind of in process for a while. So today I want to talk a little bit about how to balance going deep within yourself and accessing that inner wisdom that you have and really just diving deep. How to balance that with marketing your business, because these are very different energies. So on one hand, when you're kind of going deep within yourself and connecting with yourself on a very deep level, that's very much kind of an inward energy, as it sounds. Marketing your business, sales, that's very much an outward energy because you're putting yourself out there. So this year, 2016, has been a really interesting year for me in terms of balancing these two energies. And I think for me, it's been kind of a struggle to go back and forth between going within and going without to market my business. So I wanted to share some of my reflections on that process, everything that I've kind of gone through this year, and hopefully share some tips that will be interesting and useful to you if you're experiencing the same kind of thing. Because I know a lot of us in heart-centered businesses, we struggle with this because it's like intuition and connecting with ourselves and that kind of thing. It's a really, really important part of our business. But at the same time, you've got to be putting yourself out there and marketing. So to start out, I wanted to mention that my word of the year for 2016 was shine. Because I really wanted to step up in a bigger way, be more visible, put myself out there, get out there and kind of shine online, mostly in a much bigger way than I had been. I felt like I'd cleared a lot of the mindset stuff that was holding me back from really stepping up and marketing myself in a bigger way. And I have no doubt whatsoever that the massive amount of mindset work that I've done using PsychK over the last, it's been 3.5 years now, has helped me step up and shine with my business. And it made it a lot easier to do so. So I started doing a lot more videos this year, which again is kind of connecting with people. Started a private Facebook group for women entrepreneurs to explore mindset stuff, which you as a listener are welcome to join. Just find it on my website or look for the Business Mindset Alchemists Facebook group. So I started that Facebook group, which again is outward energy, connecting with other people. I've continued to do this podcast for 3.5 years now. And as you've heard, 179 episodes, which is pretty exciting. What else have I done? I ran a paid challenge with my business coach, Lisa Wechtenheiser. And that was great. It was really, really fun to collaborate with someone else and run a mini program together that lasted about a month. That was in September. So I also pitched myself to a bunch of podcasts, got interviewed on other people's podcasts. Other people started seeing me and inviting me just out of the blue to be on their podcast, and that's still happening. And so that to me is a really big sign that I have stepped up in a bigger way. I'm shining more, I'm putting myself out there more, and people that I've never heard of before are finding me. I've started to get clients from my YouTube channel, which is really fascinating because a lot of my videos don't get a ton of views. I've got this one video that's got about 20,000 views, but most of the videos have less than 50 views. But apparently it's been enough to get me clients, which is the important thing. And I wanted to take a moment to really call that out. When you're doing this kind of content marketing, don't get caught up in how many people are viewing things or how many people have liked your stuff or whatever. The important thing is, are you getting the results that you want? So, ultimately the whole reason I'm doing these videos and things and reaching out to people is because I want to help people with my services. So that's why I consider, even though my videos have very few views, a lot of them, I consider that my YouTube channel is becoming successful because I'm getting clients from it, which is kind of the end result. So I've been shining a lot, reaching out to people in other ways, and I'm seeing the results. As I said, people are coming to me from out of the blue, people I've never heard of before, which is fantastic. I'm really connecting with a lot of people in a bigger way. So I feel like I've done a lot better in this year with my focus to shine, kind of put this energy out into the world. What's interesting is that at the same time, I still kind of feel a bit allergic to social media, which I find fascinating considering that was my previous business before I started doing this mindset stuff. So social media was such a big thing to me, just really connecting with people online and being social on all the different platforms. And I'm still using social media a lot, but I have to say I'm doing it in a way that I always told people not to do. So signed up for Meet Edgar earlier this year. And it's something that I'd signed up for when it first came out. And then I got overwhelmed by the thought of loading up all my content in there. And so I'd canceled it after a couple of months. And then this year decided that it was time and I needed to do it. So I'm absolutely loving it. And it's helped me to really take advantage of the massive amount of content that I have by constantly pushing it out to my Facebook page, to my Facebook group, because I have daily prompts in there, to my Twitter account. But the result is I'm kind of using social media as a broadcasting tool, which is what I always said to people, don't do. Social media is social, be social on it. And so I've not been as social on it, which is, I wanted to call this out because this is a clear example of do as I say, not as I do, because I've very much changed the way I use social media, and I'm not sure if it's for the better or not. I'm not very social on Twitter. I am very social on Facebook. So this may just be kind of a way of managing how I use social media and how I market my business online and evolving into other ways of using it. And perhaps what I need to do is just kind of focus on the networks that really serve for me to, get to know people and meet people and connect with people. And that's mostly Facebook groups, my own group, other groups, following people on Facebook. That seems to be a really easy way for me to be more social. But again, as I said, I'm still pushing a lot of content out to my Facebook page. So it's a very different way of getting out there and being visible with all of this massive content that I've created over the years between blog posts and videos and podcast episodes and that kind of thing. I've got a lot of stuff out there. So that's been kind of my effort to shine and to get out there. Now, at the same time, I've really kind of been diving deep to myself as I've run my business this year. And intuition has played a significant part in my business this year. I've made a lot more decisions based on intuition, based on that gut feeling, even when they didn't make sense. So for example, I started, as you may know, writing a lot of books this year. I've written and released, self-published 6 books. 4 of them have been business books, 2 of them have been walking books about trails that I've walked. So not really related to my business. However, every time I would go on a walk, especially a longer walk, I would kind of daydream about the possibility of taking other people on my walks with me and helping them have transformational experiences while walking. And this was something that, again, my head spoke up and was just like, what are you going to do with this? You're not going to run a second business. What are you thinking? So I didn't take action on it right away, but it came up many times, enough times for me to finally stop and take action. And so when my first walking book came out, which was Alone on the South Downs Way, talking about my experience walking a 100-mile trail last year, I realized I needed to have a website to point people to because I couldn't just send them to my business website because that has nothing to do with walking. It made no sense whatsoever. And so I created this really kind of simple website called She Walks in Nature to talk about my books. And I started blogging about some of my walks on there. And eventually got to the point where I listened to my intuition, sat down one day, created a whole sales page based on taking people on transformational walks. Now, I haven't done anything to promote this. I've mentioned it to people a little bit. I also listened to my intuition and started a meetup group for taking women out walking and getting them out into nature. Had my first meetup earlier this month in December and loved it. I loved it so much. I can't wait for my second meetup in January at the end of the month. So again, these are all things that my head was going, why are you doing this? This is totally unrelated to your business. But my gut's saying, do it. It's going somewhere. I don't know where it's going yet, but I've finally learned to trust myself enough to take action on these things that maybe make no sense, but I know they will at some point. And this has been a really, really important change in mindset for me because I have always put a lot of weight on logic and mind and head stuff. So it's been a challenge, and it's been really interesting to see the things that come as a result of paying attention to my gut and not my head and focusing on the stuff that my intuition tells me to do. So, as I said, I've written 6 books this year, and that was another thing that kind of came to me through a gut feeling or a message from my intuition. So it started with my business beliefs book. Now, I'd originally planned to write just one of those PDF ebooks to put up on my website for a free download to get people onto my list as an opt-in gift. And my intuition said, no, make it into a Kindle book. Like, write a proper book, make it longer, and release it. And that was my very first book. And my gut told me to write a second book, Business Blocks, based on the blocks related to some of the beliefs in my first book. And then I wrote a book on business visibility, and then I wrote a book on business intuition because intuition has been so important for me this year. And I wrote this whole book on basically stuff I wished I had known years ago when looking to connect with my intuition, because for the longest time I thought that intuition was something that you either had or you didn't. You know, there are these very special people out there that have this amazing intuition, and they were just born with that, and they're very lucky. And I wasn't. But that's not true. There are so many things you can do to raise your intuition, to kind of turn up the volume on that little voice that tells you to do interesting and exciting and fun things. And I've included a lot of practical tips in that book to help people increase their intuition. Because one of the most important things that I've gotten out of listening to my intuition and having what my business coach called unwavering trust is it's like a compass. It's like that true north. It's that trust in that inner voice, trust that it knows what's right for me, whether you call it your intuition or your higher self or whatever you call it. I have found that paying attention to this and developing this kind of inner compass or true north helps make my business so much easier. I know what decisions to make. Even if my head is not quite sure, I know deep in my gut what is right in terms of making decisions, signing up for programs, offering things to my community, changing up things in my business. I have unwavering trust now in my intuition. So again, even if it doesn't make sense to my head, I just do it. Now, as I've said, I may not do it right away, but I'm listening to that voice. And sometimes it needs to tell me something 2 or 3 times before I finally listen and take action on it. But the important thing is to pay attention, because the more you pay attention, the more you take action on the stuff that your intuition tells you, the louder that voice will get. The easier it will be for you to hear what it's telling you, which is, it just makes a massive, massive, massive difference. So I've been really focused on that inward energy of diving deep, going deep within myself. And part of the work with my coach, Lisa Wechtenheiser, helps me with that. She channels your guides as she's having a session with you, which I think is really, really unique and different, and it's changed my life. So that's also helped me to get messages from myself and my guides to help me really go within and just kind of dive deep and access that inner wisdom and that information and that inner knowing. Probably one of the biggest things that I've gotten, that I'm still kind of developing as a result of my intuition, is very early in 2016. I don't remember what it was, but it was in a session with Lisa. My guide said that I needed to start paying attention to the things that I like about Psych-K, the technique that I used to work with clients, and the things that I don't like, and start paying attention to especially what it is that I like. Because at some point I'm going to develop my own new method of helping people transform their mindset and working with clients. So I've kind of had that in the back of my mind all year long, knowing that at some point I'm going to create this new process or method or technique or system for working with clients. I've been really excited about that, but it's, I never really took action on it. It was just kind of marinating back there in my head. Until something happened, must have been September of this year, that was kind of the tipping point to make me really start focusing on this. And so I had another session with Lisa and said, look, I need to do this. What do I need to know? What do I need to do? How do I need to do this? Because it was very clear to me that this technique that I'm developing wasn't going to be created from my mind. It wasn't going to be a logical thing. It was something that I was going to kind of receive as like a download or as like something accessed from my inner self or higher self. So that was something that was really challenging for me, because it was like, I know I need to go within to get this information, not develop it from my head, but how do I do this? So anyway, had a session with Lisa. The guide said, look, you're going to get this information in about 2 weeks. You need to spend time outside. You need to go walking, be out in nature, make space. So did a lot of walking, did mostly what I was told, but didn't really make enough space. And it didn't come in, it didn't come in, it didn't come in. I started getting really frustrated waiting for this thing. And so had another session with Lisa a couple of months later, specifically about this, and said, look, I don't understand what's happening. Like, I'm waiting for this thing. I think I'm making space. I'm going out in nature. They said it would come to me on a walk. And again, the answer that I got was that I needed to make space, but like seriously this time. I needed to just slow down, slot some time out in the calendar to just sit and receive. Well, fascinating how things change when you make the time to do that. And I think this might also be one of the most important things in accessing this inner wisdom, inner knowledge, intuition, this stuff that we all have, but we're not accessing often because we're so busy ticking stuff off from our to-do list and getting stuff done. But I'm starting to learn that this going within is kind of one of the most important parts, if not the most important part of my business. So about a week ago, I actually sat down about an hour and a half each day in silence and just made notes of stuff as it came to me. And I started playing around with it and not really knowing what was going on, but I started putting together the system, and then I would write notes, and then I would kind of type them up, and then I would print them out, and then I just started researching stuff. And after doing this, just allowing this information to come for about an hour and a half each day, I've got a pretty clear system now of how I think I'm going to be working with clients in the new year. It's going to be a gradual transition. I love Psyche. I'm not letting go of it yet, but I feel like this is my way forward in my business. And it's super powerful because it's something I have complete control over, even though it's not something I've kind of created mentally or logically or rationally. I don't have to follow anyone else's rules. And that to me is really, really important as being an entrepreneur, as someone who's been self-employed since 1999. That's going to be 18 years in February, which is crazy. I'm not used to following other people's rules. And so I find that really, really frustrating in terms of using someone else's technique. I really like to have full control over what I'm doing, which is why I've also self-published my books. So wanted to really drive home the importance of making that time to sit and listen. A lot of people find journaling to be really useful. I kind of go in and out with that. I honestly don't journal that much unless I'm given prompts to journal on, but I don't just free write. I don't do that morning pages thing that a lot of people do. Tried it, did not enjoy it at all. So what I just found useful was just sitting, calming down my mind, and just making note of what came up for me, paying attention, trying stuff out, playing with it, and then just documenting everything that I was doing, even if it didn't make sense, because eventually it kind of is coming into this thing that's still not fully finished, but it's a very clear process right now. So I would like to encourage you to try this in your business. Just kind of sit and go with what comes to you. This process did not come to me in any logical, rational way. The first thing that came to me was a symbol, which is the symbol that I'm going to be using for the logo for the business. A color came in as a very important color. Bizarrely, I got these very clear message of these kind of the 3 levels that I'm going to be teaching it to others. So what level 1, level 2, level 3 is going to be like. I got very clear message on where I need to be teaching this to other people, because I'm not just going to be using it to work with my own clients, but eventually teaching this process to other people. So those random bits kind of came in, and that was weird because what am I going to do with that? Didn't know, but I wrote it down. Then I got kind of a list of like philosophy around it, but I still didn't have a clear process or system. And then I got a clear message that had to do something with the chakras or the energy centers. And then color again was really important. And then I started getting clear messages that for names, I started just writing down notes for names. And then I don't know, little by little, it all came together. So it's kind of in its second or third iteration right now. At one point, I listened to a really fantastic guided masterclass, kind of a meditation thing by Cara Wilde called New Identity Masterclass. And I did it for the 3rd time. And after I did that, it gave me a lot of information about who I need to be and how I need to step up to not only create this technique, but bring it out into the world. So that's been, in a nutshell, kind of my process for going within and creating something super exciting and new. But again, like I said, it's been challenging this year to balance that deep inward energy of going within and going out and shining out into the world. So I'm sharing this with you because I don't have any clear solutions, because I think everyone's going to have a different solution to them. So, maybe you need to block out one day a week where you go within, and another day a week where you do your marketing and go without, and then see your clients on the other 3 days. Maybe you need to block out, an hour and a half a day to do your go within time and just listen to your intuition. Like I said, that's worked for me too. Maybe you need to get out in nature like I do. A lot of times I get fantastic ideas and just insights from when I go out walking or hiking. So that's also really useful. Download my business intuition book. I highly recommend that book. It's a really short book. I think it's about 20,000 words. So it's about maybe a third the size of your traditional full-length business book. And I've specifically done that with my business books because I want to keep them kind of short and digestible and actionable on a very specific topic. So read that book. It's an easy read. Practice some of the things in there so that you can kind of go within and really connect with your intuition. Find what works for you. I know this is my advice for just about everything, but I really think there's no cookie cutter solution for everyone. So again, whether it's going out on a walk once a week, whether it's just kind of meditating once a week, like hanging out on your bed, sitting there, listening to whatever comes to mind, whether it's doing a little bit every day, find what works for you, whether it's listening to guided meditations. Like I said, this new identity masterclass, I've listened to it 3 times now, and each time I've got like 2 pages of notes from it because it's been so juicy and so useful. And I think it's something that I'll probably continue to do on a regular basis. I listen to other guided meditations that have also really, really helped me get clarity at different points in my business on what I want to do with my business. So I hope that this has been useful. I'm sorry that I can't give you like super clear solutions, but again, I think that everyone kind of needs to find their own process of balancing this inward and outward energy of making the time, because I think this is super, super important in heart-centered businesses, making the time to go within, listen to your intuition, listen to your higher self, listen to the wisdom that it has for you, but also putting yourself out there and marketing yourself, because it's like I always say, like the mindset work and action steps, like being a spiral staircase. One step is your mindset work. One step is your practical action. Mindset, action, mindset, action. You can't have just one or the other, because if you don't do the mindset work, you're not going to be setting yourself up to take easy action. You're going to be really struggling. And if you're just taking action and you're not doing the mindset work, you might not be taking the right actions. So that's the same kind of thing with what we're talking about here. Going within, going without, going within, going without. Intuition, marketing. It's important to make time to do both, because if you're just spending the time going within, listening to your meditations, getting all of this amazing wisdom and advice that's super useful to you, but then you're not doing anything to market your business, that's not going to get you clients. And if you're just doing the marketing, and you're like on autopilot with the marketing, but you're not taking the time to listen to your intuition and listen to that inner wisdom, again, you might not be doing the right things, or you might not be marketing yourself in the right way. I actually quit pretty much all of my offline networking this year. It was last December, I went to kind of my last networking meeting of the group that I used to belong to and quit because it wasn't getting me clients. I really enjoyed it, but I always dreaded it. I always really just didn't look forward to it. And then I'd go there and I'd love it, but again, didn't get me the results. Where do I get clients? Online. So my gut was telling me, give this up. Do it online. And that's what I've done this year. And that's made it a lot easier for me to shine online, not offline. So again, I hope you find this useful, and I hope I've done a good job of explaining the importance of taking these 2 steps. Go within, go without, go within, go without. Intuition marketing, because it's so important to kind of get that balance right. And I think I'm definitely still working on getting the balance right for me, but I'm getting there. And I think it's a path, it's a journey, it's something you have to play around with, see what works for you. Might not get it right the first time, probably won't get it right the first time. It'll take some messing around with it to see a little more of this, a little more of that, and figure out what's right for you. So it's about a half an hour now, so we're going to wrap this up. And I hope you have a fantastic, fantastic end of the year. And I hope you have a wonderful, successful, happy, joyous, fabulous, intuitive, shiny 2017. So that's all for now. I'm going to sign off. I will, as usual, have the show notes up for this on my website. So thank you for listening. And remember to visit hollywharton.com/179 for the show notes on this episode. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Business Mindset Podcast with your host, Holly Worton. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for topics that were discussed at hollywharton.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave a quick review of this podcast. It just takes a minute. Thank you.